President and Sabina Higgins are both deeply knowledgeable and enthusiastic in their support for Bloom. In fact, their interest in horticulture is so great that they recently had some of the grounds of the Áras certified as organic. So not only is President Higgins one of our most qualified and great intellectuals in this country, even his garden now has a qualification. It's a massive honour to have this president, our most outstanding president, as our official patron of Bloom. President Higgins, I would like to invite you to say a few words and to officially open Bloom. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd ask you to give a warm welcome to President Micheál D. Higgins, the President of Ireland.
Glíní cór, mahan hain agus san ma bhein céile saibhín, tá fircin áthas arm, buicas a ghlacha le bhasachtan fóide dar Rome. Dear friends, it's such a great pleasure to be here again at the opening of Bloom's show. This is the 11th annual Bloom show, and it has of course been regarded as better, as we would say, Córa na bhifigúil go bhfuil an saora búilte linn. It's more or less taken, as so many of you know who have come from all over the country, that it's the official welcome of the summer. And indeed, I very much agree with the chairman that it's such a great tribute to those who work so hard every year to ensure that Bloom retains a standard of excellence, but yet every year it allows new elements to introduce themselves. It has maintained a high quality, and it goes from strength to strength. And in 2016, for example, and you'll see it again today, the crowds are already gathered, but last year over 100,000 people came to Bloom, and I'm sure that that figure will be at least equalled or surpassed over the coming days. As Sabina and I went around, and in preparing for this particular official opening, I'm so honoured to be patron of Bloom, that I'm struck by people who've come from all over the country, but people who are coming from cities and towns, as well as people who would be closer to some of the activities here from rural Ireland. But over 50% of the population of our planet now lives in cities. And in fact, by the middle of this century, 2 people in 3, 65% will be city dwellers. 2.5 billion people living in cities. And that is something that struck me about this particular year, about how important it is that those who live in the city come to be able, these stands that we've seen now this particular year, about the greening of our cities and how important it is. I think as well, 75% of the total product in any year in the world takes place in cities, in urban areas. But also, it's 3/4 of all of our carbon emissions. So all of the things that are happening, be it local authorities doing things in cities, be it people who are window boxes, be it people who are growing their own vegetables, people do new and interesting things in cities, they are among the most important contributions if we are to reduce our carbon emissions. So therefore, it's so important. And what's marvellous, and may I say that whilst marvellous is what it is this, when I was in Paris, and indeed when I spoke with Prince Charles about it, it isn't only governments and it isn't administrations. It is every citizen doing their bit to achieve the 2 great aims of responding to climate change and sustainable development in a new way. They are the great marks of 2015. And you know what's encouraging? Even if some of the most powerful people in the world deny the climate change or resile from climate change, isn't it marvellous? Isn't it marvellous that the people of the planet are saying, we are going to do something? And what was very encouraging with Sabine and I were in China, for example, that the president of China is saying, I'm doing it for the planet, but I'm doing it for my Chinese people as well. So the people of the world will in fact defend what's been achieved in responding to climate change, and that is very, very important. And something else, when I met many of Fingal County Council, Dublin City Council, it's very important that we put bad planning behind us and that we celebrate good planning where it's occurring, where we see public spaces being provided that are contributing to the health of people of all ages, young people who are often mentioned the importance of recreation, but also passive places for older people. And Bloom reminds me that Sabine and I, we are the temporary tenants in a house in a garden of 1,752 acres. And it is very wonderful to know that Bloom is in a very, very appropriate place, because that park is a monument to long-term thinking. And this is what we must all do now, young children, teachers everywhere. Think beyond the time of our own life. Think of what we want it to be like when we are no longer there. That is a commitment to intergenerational justice that is very, very important. And when I was down the country in the last week and the week before, celebrating National Biodiversity Week, I was explaining and suggesting Ireland is Ireland and is beautiful because we have protected certain things. We are not turning our farms into Texas. We are not tearing up our hedgerows. We should not be doing things that cannot be reversed. When I look around the wonderful stands here, and already the bees are on some of the flowers, the importance of the pollinators, and the whole importance of us living in symmetry with nature. And this is such a great strength. That's why people will want to come to Ireland, to come to a place where people are happy living with nature. And in the 10 years since its inception, this festival has grown and flourished. And it's not only an event, it's an educational experience. It's a piece of encouragement to people who are doing things in this way. And this year, yes, you will have the 22 spectacular show gardens. Over 30 of Ireland's top nurseries and florists are here, and many, many Irish food and drink producers with 200 retail stands. I think something very important as well. I think this year bhia, whom I couldn't praise enough, and I so wish the new chief executive were. She will do so great because she has a great project. And I think very, very much one of the things that are here this year for the 4th year is a trade fair where 200 buyers are here talking to 100 suppliers. And there of that 100 suppliers, 33 are new suppliers. And I wish them well. And I wanted to say something important about that. That is a challenge, but it is very important in the conditions in which we find ourselves, for example, in relation to Brexit. Realistically, what happens in agribusiness and what happens in farming is job-rich, and therefore the greatest threats facing us are to that sector. But we can help, and we can help by knowing more about Irish food, of saying how it is traceable, about its high quality, and we can grow our own food, and we should support those who produce food locally, and we should be local and global at the same time, because it is the healthy thing to do. Yes, and there are other parts of Bloom you will see, horticulture, which continues to raise its standard. Its value to the Irish economy is approximately just under $500 million a year. And I think that's an export sector for Ireland. Bloom, therefore, has all these different layers, food and horticulture and trade and agribusiness and so on. So I think there is a great opportunity to look at how resources are being respected and utilized for sustainability, and respecting seasonality, supporting and seeing, as I've just said, the health-giving capacity of local produce. They're the key messages of Bloom. And I think it's wonderful to see how those within the food sector are encouraging others. And so many people are growing their own food, making choices, supporting restaurants that support good food production, supporting retailers who buy fairly and treat their suppliers fairly. And then you must ask yourself, it always struck me when I was preparing for Bloom, and I dig out all the figures, and I say, the amount that we import, how much of it we could be producing here, and then the amount of processed foods that we are consuming, and really making a contribution to global welfare involves what is abroad, but it also involves what we do every day. Contemporary food production and consumption at the present time, they are not sustainable. We can't go on with this wonderful, marvelous contradiction that hits us in the face. We haven't been enabled to eliminate global poverty, global hunger, and at the same time, the countries that claim to be the most developed in the history of the world are suffering ever increasingly from obesity. All of this means that, therefore, global health is just that. It means achieving balance in how we produce food, distribute food, consume food, and how we live and speak about it. And equally, you could say that we could run, for example, responding to Brexit, a campaign saying about Irish agricultural produce. What's even better is every citizen talking about it and being able to say that because Irish food is produced in a particular way, that is sustainable, because it is traceable. And we tell that to our friends in England, and we tell it to our friends in America, and that's what will make Irish agricultural produce safe. And I think what we're seeing here, therefore, is a great festival that is encouraging responsible consumption, responsible production, life on land, good health, and so forth. And I want to say to those of you who have come from rural Ireland that as President of Ireland, I take a great interest in what's happening. And I was reading the figures yesterday from the Teagasc survey. And if we want to keep people on farms in Ireland, we have to pay them properly for their produce. And we have to make sure as well if we're citizens and if we're consumers and citizens at the same time, we should be willing to protect what we know is good. And therefore we should not be chasing irresponsibly the cheapest product so at the cost of losing sustainability in our rural life, in our farms and elsewhere. Farm families are important. And when Sabine and I go, Bloom is my favourite event, and then I go to the ploughing, as they say, to the National Ploughing Championship. And it is there you will see what is important. Now, I'm not going on any longer except to say this. The craft village is here, celebrating something that's there through Irish heritage, the wonderful way of making new things. And Irish craft has shot through this roof in relation to the rising of standards. Those who value craft internationally now pay tribute to what has been achieved, and I've so praised the Craft Council. And then in addition, the craft villages here, you will be able to see their work. And then I think as well, the importance of encouraging the production of fresh fruit and vegetables. And I think here, when I always make this speech now here where you have cooking going on, the fact is that everything is being prepared better, cooked better, by a whole generation that are absolutely talented, of those who are involved as chefs and to those who are involved as cooks and those who are preparing food. Internationally, in every area, fish, beef, vegetables, baking, the lot, Ireland is establishing a whole new reputation, and we owe them a great, great, great deal of credit for that. Now, my very final word is as we visited and came along towards the end of this last 2 hours. There I saw again the people from Enable Ireland and Trócaire, Goal Oxfam and Our Lady's Children's Hospital and the Mary Keating Foundation. All them emphasising is we scoa chéile a warren na daoine. We must look after each other, and their work, generous work, where people give their most precious resource, time in the care of others, is so important. And I think, as well as that, our new challenges, those wonderful stands celebrating inclusivity. Isn't it marvellous to be able to say that we live in a country that isn't actually interrogating strangers in terms of hate, but that we're welcoming people, and that instead of building walls, we're taking down walls, and we're inviting people to live with us. I just want finally to say that every year, sometimes, you could get lazy in the thinking and say, well, it's going to happen again this year. Nothing falls from the sky. Everything depends on the effort put in. To all those who put in a great effort, to all the people in board, be it the people in the OPW, the people in all the different people who are exhibiting, and all of you who have travelled, and those of you who are showing your loyalty by attending in such great numbers, I congratulate you. Agus tábhacht is cúiseáthastam, and they show gloch a gach malas gach buicas a goálo siúd. Is gach ragus bannacht a guiar gach then a making shops and tUachtarán. So may I take this opportunity of thanking everybody involved, wish you every success in the future, and to formally declare Bloom 2017 officially open. Gharraíodóireachta.